I guess.
What will take it for?
No, like, something about, like, intention better. I don't know, my dad says he's gonna try to get it, like, taken away. I don't know. But at least I didn't hit her, she hit me.
Wait, what? I'm confused. You're acting like you caused it, but then you're saying
I did cause it, but she hit me, so at least.
they're saying she hit her. Wait, what even happened? No, but where were you?
Oh, it should be
Across
this
from the
Tuesday.
fire department or whatever, and I was like,
Thank
dropping-
you.
Yeah, I was at the stop sign,
I
so
get all
somebody was
cause
in the turn lane, so I didn't see
confused.
this car coming. So I started going, and the lady like hit my front, and she took my whole car, and my car went.
How did you not see it?
Because she was going like 70 miles an hour, and it was like.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't even care. At least the van's gone. That thing was ugly. Hey, that's what my dad said too.
When did you get your other one back?
My car is back, but I didn't drive today because I'm traumatized. Traumatized. No, driving past the scene, I almost cried. I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, bring me home. See, I didn't think like people actually had trauma from like accidents. I was like, oh, that's just fake. But apparently not. I thought people were just like needed to get over themselves. Oh wait, is this?
Yes.
Oh yeah, here. I'll get that for you.
That was locked in the whole house was
So you guys, I have one assignment that I wasn't sure if it was second or fifth hour. And then I have a worksheet that did not have a name on it that I know is from this class. So I'm gonna hand that around.
Do you have missing assignments in the grade book?
Yes, the grade book should be all caught
How
up.
did why is there over 100% on
Because
the quiz again?
on the quiz again, because sometimes what I do is I, like, take a test, if it's out of 100, and like the grades weren't quite as good as I would have liked them
Oh,
to
so you
be,
curved it?
I'll take it out of 90, and then those of you that got over 90 get over 100%.
So if I got 108, how many did I actually get wrong?
You would have just gotten one wrong then.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. All right, so this week, we are going to do 2 sections. And then, so it's kind of weird because I'm finishing chapter 4, and then I'm starting chapter 6, and chapter 6, we will only do 6-2, and that's it for that chapter.
Pass it back. You didn't know what to do with it.
Okay, and then, when you guys will go either to me next try or to Mr. Check next try on Thursday, and then you'll be starting chapter 7. So we only do one section of chapter 6, okay? So, and I gave you a cheat sheet that's just for 4-6 and 6-2, so you can use that on your quiz.
I thought we were getting away from these things.
What things?
What the heck is this? I thought we were getting away from shapes.
Geometry is shaped.
I hate geometry.
All right, so today what we're gonna talk about is some special triangles. We're gonna talk about an isosceles triangle, an equilateral triangle, and right triangles. So an isosceles triangle has at least 2 sides congruent. So when we look at an isosceles triangle, like one of these, okay, they call the two sides, so an isosceles triangle is going to have two sides congruent, okay? They call the two sides that are congruent the legs, and then they call the side that is not congruent the base, okay? Now, one of the big things that we're gonna learn today is if these two sides are equal, that makes the angles across from them equal. That's a big part of what we're learning today, okay? So if these two angles, sides are equal, the angles across from them are equal. And these are called base angles. All right? This angle up here that's in between our two congruent angles is called a vertex angle.
Miss Bobby, these might be Sophia's. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Does it look like hers?
She has nice handwriting, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the base angles is what I was just saying, and it works both ways. So if you have two angles equal, the sides across from them are going to be equal, and vice versa. The sides are equal, the angles across from them are equal. Okay? So let's go to this right here. These aren't the best copies, it looks like, but this is asking us, tell which sides or angles of the triangle are congruent. So what you notice is R and S are equal, so they want to know what additional thing is congruent. So the sides across from those are going to be equal. So what you would say is segment TR is congruent to segment TS. Okay, so if the angles are equal, the sides across from them are going to be equal. Now in this one, notice the two sides are equal, so that means the angles across from them are equal. So we could say these two angles are equal. So if those two sides are equal, I can say angle C is congruent to angle D. Okay? Then,
How do you know if it's across from each other?
so it would be like this side is across, or this angle is across from that 5, and angle D is across from the other 5, okay? Then if I look at this one, notice they're telling us these two sides are equal, so the angles that are equal would be the angles across from those two sides. So our answer would be angle A is congruent to angle C. Okay. Now if we look at this one's a little bit harder. It says, name two unmarked congruent angles. Okay.
C and A.
So yes, it would be A and this one, but we can't name this one angle C, because if I just said angle C, you wouldn't know if I meant the top smaller one, the bottom smaller one, or the whole angle C. So I have to use 3 letters when I do that. So when I name this one, I'm gonna say angle BCA is congruent to angle A. Okay? So I can use just A for that second one. Then it says name 2 unmarked congruent segments. So if we look here,
CD,
yes, because we're looking here at these 2 angles, so it'd be the sides opposite, so it could be DB and CB. Did you guys get that? So it'd be the sides across from angle C and angle D there. So it'd be CB and DB. Any questions on those? Everybody understand that? Okay, so now let's go to this. And let's go down to example 3. Okay? So it says find the value of the variable. Do you guys get if these two angles are equal, that makes those two sides equal? So we can just say y plus 4 equals 16, subtract 4, and y is 12. Okay? Then when I look at this one, notice I have these two angles equal. That would make these two sides equal. So you're just going to set these equal and use algebra to solve. So we're going to subtract 5, and we get 7x equals 14. Divide by 7, and x is 2. Very good. All right, if I look at C, if these two angles are equal, those two sides are equal. So again, I can just say 2x plus 6 equals 3x minus 6. And then I'm going to bring my x's over to one side, my numbers over to the other. I'm going to bring the 2x over, and it's positive, so I'm going to subtract 2x. And then I get 6 equals 3x minus 2x is x, and then I have minus 6. Then I'm going to add 6,
12.
and x is 12. Very good. So when it's algebra like this, guys, I do want to see your work, okay? So if you look at this, these two are equal, so that makes these two angles equal. So x plus 10 would equal 45. And then I would just subtract 10, and x is 35. Okay. All right, now let's look at this. So this is the, bless you, this is the second kind of triangle that we're gonna talk about, and it's an equilateral triangle. So what this theorem is telling us is this: if you have a triangle that all 3 sides are equal, that's called equilateral. Equilateral means equal sides. This theorem tells us if all the sides are equal, automatically all the angles are going to be equal, and that is called equiangular. Then think about this. In a triangle, the angles add up to 180. If each of them is equal, how many degrees would each of those angles be? Think about that. If these 3 are equal and they have to add up to 180, how could I find out what each of them is? Divide by 3. 180 divided by 3 is 60. So what this theorem is saying, if your angles are equal, they're going to be 60. And if your angles are equal, the sides are equal. If the sides are equal, you can assume the angles are equal, and you can assume they're all 60 degrees. So that's equiangular and equilateral. So now if I look at this one, notice all 3 angles are equal. That means all 3 sides are equal, so these two would equal each other. Now, when you have a y on each side, but only one number, leave the number where it is and bring this y over to the other side. So get your y's to the other side, leave the number. Right now that's a positive 5y, so we're gonna subtract 5y. 3y minus 5y is negative 2y, and that equals negative 14. Divide by negative 2, and y is 7. Okay. same thing with this next one. All three angles are equal, so all three sides would be equal. So we can say 8y minus 10 equals 4y plus 2. And then we're gonna just solve for y, so I'm gonna subtract 4y. Bring that over. 8y minus 4y is 4y. And then I have minus 10 equals 2. Then we're just gonna add 10. And we get 4y is 12. Divide by 4. And y is 3. Okay. Now in this one, notice all of my angles are 60 degrees. So that means they're all equal, so all your sides are equal. So you know that x plus 3 then would have to equal 2x minus 1, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring this x over here, and then I would have 3 equals 2x minus x is x, subtract 1, and then I'm gonna bring the 1 over here, and x is 4. Alright. Now, if I go to this page, this one is a little bit more challenging. Okay? So let's see if we can figure this one out. If these three angles are, if those three sides are equal, what does that tell us about the three angles? They're equal. Now, if all of these angles are equal, what would each of them be?
90.
Not 90, but
60.
60, yes, okay. So, x would just be 60. That's not too bad. But now I have to find what y is, and this is a little more challenging. Now, if this is 60, could I find this angle right here? I'm gonna call it z.
It'd be 60, right?
So think about this.
No, what?
These two form a straight line. What do we?
Equal to 180.
So they equal 180. So if this is 60, what would that be? 120, right? Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
180 minus 60 is 120. So this angle right here is 120. Okay, now let's look at this triangle over here. We have two sides equal, so it's isosceles, so that makes these two angles equal, okay? Now, if that's y, this one's y. Could I figure out what it is then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's two different ways. You could do algebra, and you could go y plus 120 adds up to what? If it's a triangle,
180.
180, very good. Y plus y is 2y plus 120 equals 180. Then I'm going to subtract 120, and I get 2y is 60, divide by 2,
80.
and y is 30. Very good. That's this right here in that. Now, another way you could do this, or does anyone see a way you could do that without using algebra?
You could just do minus and then divide.
Yep. So tell me what you mean by minus.
You should subtract 180 by 120 and then you divide it by 2.
Yes. So these have to add up to 180. So if you subtract 180 minus 120, that's 60. And these two are equal, and they have to add up to 60, so you could just go 60 divided by 2, and that would be 30. So that's another way to do it if you don't want to do algebra there. Okay, let's look here. this is asking for the missing measures. What would this angle be? 50. And then what would that angle be?
No, those two
It would be
Yeah.
80, yes. Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
50 plus 50 is 100. 180 minus 100 is 80. Very good. All right, then let's look at this one. If that's 46, what's this?
46.
46?
Bless you.
Bless you. Now, couldn't you add those together?
Yeah.
And then what would you do with that?
Subtract it from
Yeah, if these two add up to 92, the one that's missing has to be 180 minus 92, which is 88. So your x is 46, your y is 88. Okay. Now, Dawson was saying how you could do this before, well, first of all, let me say this. If these two sides are equal, do you guys get that these two angles are equal?
Mm-hmm.
If that's 40, do we know how much these two have to add up to?
180.
40 minus 80, 180, and then you divide by 2.
Yes, so you can go 180 minus 40, okay, and that's 140. So if that's 40, these two have to add up to 140, and they're equal. So what you can do is divide this by 2, and that gives us 70. Do you guys understand that way?
Yeah, that one's easier.
You get that? So our x is 70 and our y is 70. Okay. Now if we look at this one's a little bit harder too. Could I find that angle right there?
Yes.
How?
Equals to 180.
It's 20 because 180.
It's 40.
40, right? Because this plus this has to add up to 180. So if that's 140, this is 40. Now, if these two are equal, don't I know these two are equal?
Yes.
So this is 40.
Mm-hmm.
40
Yeah.
plus 40 is 80. So how much does x have to be? 100. Everybody understand that?
Yep.
Okay, so x is 100. That's one answer. Now we have to find y. Do I know something about this angle right here?
100.
It's
And how do I know
what
that?
is it? It's the
Because
same as
the
the
x
other.
is 100.
Yep, and what kind of angles are those two?
Parallel.
Vertical, yes, they're vertical. So if this is 100, this is 100, okay? Now, if these two sides are equal, aren't these two angles equal?
Yes, 40.
So if that's 100 and those two are equal,
Why
don't
is
you
it
think
140?
that's gonna be, both of those are gonna be 40?
Yep.
Okay, so 40 and 40. And then these two have to add up to 180. So isn't it gonna be 140 again?
It's
Okay.
just a reflection thing.
It is, good.
Do you have to do all that work, or did you just know that the y would be 140?
Correct. You,
Good.
as long as you see that, for sure. Okay, now, let's look at this.
Are we doing this one?
So whenever we do these types of things, they always throw algebra problems in. So what you have to do is figure out, how could I write an algebra equation here? So I have to know something about angle R.
It's 2x.
It's 2x. Does everybody realize that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, couldn't I add those three together and set it equal to 180? So I'm gonna go 2x plus 2x plus 40 equals 180, okay? 2x plus 2x is 4x plus 40 is 180. Subtract 40, and I get 4x equals 140. Divide by 4, and x is 35. Okay, so that is my x. Now here, do you guys see what you'd have to do?
Equal them?
Yep, set these equal to each other. So 2x plus 6 would equal 3x minus 6. Now I'm going to bring the 2x over by subtracting it.
Isn't this the same exact question we already did?
It could be.
12
This
equals
is
X.
x minus 6, and then do you get that we'd have to add 6?
Yeah.
So x is 12. Did we do that exact one?
Yes.
We did, yeah.
Just a double one.
Alright, now, if all three sides are equal, don't we know all three angles are equal?
6X.
Yeah.
And if all three angles are equal, how much does one of them equal?
60.
60, right? So each of these are 60. So wouldn't we be able to find this just by saying 6x has to equal 60? So x would be what? Yep. Everybody get that? Alright, now let's look down at this one. How do I find x?
180 minus 125.
Yes. These two form a line, so that means they add up to 180. So x is 180 minus 125, which is what, 55? Okay, that's one of my answers. This is 55. What would this angle be?
55.
Yep. So this would be 55. And then could I find y?
55 plus 55 equals Y.
Not quite. 55 plus 55 is 110. And then wouldn't the 110 plus y have to equal 180? So 55 plus 55 is 110. And then I would go 180 minus 110, which is 70. And that is my y. Okay. Then I have to find z. What do I know about those two?
125.
180 minus 55.
Yep, z would be 180 minus 55, which is 125. Very good. Then, how would I find these two?
You would subtract 40 by 180.
And then, okay, if I went 180 minus 44, that is 136, okay? So that's telling me these two have to add up
Divide by
to
2.
136, and they're equal, so I divide by 2. And that would be what, 68? Okay. So these are each 68. What would x be?
180 minus 60.
Yes, very good. 180 minus 68, which is
112.
112, and that is my x. And y is 68. Okay. This one is asking us for measure of angle R, oh, no, sorry, SRT right here.
I already know the answer.
What is it?
65.
Yes. So you can go 180 minus 50, and that's 130. And because these two sides are equal, that means those two angles are equal. So these have to add up to 130, and they're equal, so I can divide it by 2. And 130 divided by 2 is 65. Okay? Last page. What do you think we do here? the sides are equal, don't we know the angles are equal, right? And that is just meaning it's that angle, so you would just go 5x plus 7 equals 52. So we're gonna subtract 7, and 5x equals 45.
9.
Yep, x is 9. Okay. Now if I look at this one, could I write an expression for this angle right there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you say 2x?
I said 3x.
3x, yes, you are correct. Okay, if these two are equal, these two angles are equal. Now what should those add up to? 3x plus 3x plus 4x should equal 180. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10x. And then we divide by 10, and x is 18. Okay? Now, if I look at this one, if these two are equal, doesn't that make these two equal? So this is 2x plus 3. What should all three of those equal? 2x plus 3. If I added 2x plus 3 plus 2x plus 3 plus 90, what should that equal? 180. Yep. So 2x plus 2x is 4x. 3 plus 3 plus 90 is 96, and that equals 180. Okay, then I'm going to subtract 96, and 4x is 84. Divide by 4, and x would be 21. Very good. Okay, now this one's harder. Okay, so here, I don't think you'd see one this hard on the quiz, but these two are equal. Do you get that?
Yeah.
However, we can't do a problem and just add these three together because we have an x and a y. So what we're gonna do first is find out just if you had a triangle where these were equal and this was 52, what would each of these be?
You would do 6y minus 2 equals 52, and 4x plus 20 equals 52.
Not quite, because that would mean all of them are 52,
Oh,
and they wouldn't all be 52, but could we find what each of these is, right? We could go 180 minus 52, which is 128. That means these have to add up to 128, so we're gonna divide it by 2, which is 64. So that means this is 64 and this is 64. Now, this is 64 and this one's 64, okay? Now what you can do is say, well, I know that 4x plus 20 has to equal 64, and 6y minus 2 has to equal 64. So you're solving them individually since they have different variables. So if I divide or subtract 20 here, I'd get 4x equals 44, and then divide by 4, and x would be 11. And then here if I add 2, I get 6y equals 66, and actually here, y is 11 also. Just so happened that way. Now we have our last one. Okay,
How about we just skip
so do you guys get, since the three sides are equal, the three angles are equal?
Yeah.
And what should each angle be? 60. So wouldn't 3x just have to equal 60?
Yes, and that is 20.
And x is 20, very good. And then to find y, wouldn't you just set 2y minus 6 equal to 8? Because they're the two congruent sides. And then this would be 2y equals 14. And y is 7. Alright, so your assignment today, I believe, is a worksheet that I have copies of. And then you have this to do in the book, okay? So I'm gonna give you a worksheet, and then you can,
Why so many?
Ain't that hard.
Alright, bro. You're right.
so the back, or somewhere on the worksheet, if you wanted to, you could put the problems. Otherwise, what you're gonna do is just do it on notebook paper for the book and staple it to this, okay? Did you think it was hard today? Just kinda long?
Not boring.
Boring.
Yep. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Just bog you about it.
I get your bullets today, so I'm not school.
After school?
Aiden's gonna get the bullets.
Oh,